All right, so we're back here at Gen Con 2017, first time it's ever sold out for the 50th anniversary. And I'm here with Neil, and we're going to be talking about Chronicles. So Neil, please tell me about Chronicles.
Absolutely. Chronicles is a 32mm true scale fantasy strategy game. So it uses single piece minis to basically enact a strategy or a war game style setting. And it's a fully scalable game, going from what we would call like a small skirmish scale all the way up to the largest types of battles would be 4 or 5 times that size and require about a 4x6 table to play on.
How many players makes this game really worth it? What's the optimal number?
It's definitely 2 players enough. So you're looking at 2 players. You need sides, right? As with any war.
Yes, yes. There's normally a good guy and a bad guy.
There will be free-for-all rules. They're going to be in an add-on edition, but mainly it is designed for either teams, 2 teams, or 2 players.
Now, if I understand this correctly, this game's not out at this exact moment.
That's right. Chronicles is going to be coming to Kickstarter on August 30th, which we're about 10 days from now.
Okay,
so
10 days.
We're super excited about that and getting all our assets together for it.
Good deal, good deal. And then, of course, like always, I will post a link to all this information at the bottom of the screen. But now, let's go and get to a demo,
okay? Absolutely. So with Chronicles, we tried to design a game that was as accessible as we possibly could. What that means is we wanted to simplify the rules of the traditional war game scenario, which is definitely more complex, and is something that could appeal more to board gamers. So the way that works is when you're looking at the models here on the table, we don't have any complicated units or formations. All the models move freeform independently of each other. The way in which you know how a model interacts with the game, whether or not how far it moves, or you're talking about how much damage it can do or take, we use simple model cards with simple symbols that describe it. So literally how far it moves, how much damage it can take, how much armor it has. Most people can guess what these symbols mean without even me explaining it. The other thing that Chronicles uses is custom dice. We use custom dice so that Chronicles won't have any math charts, tables, lookups, or other sort of complicated mechanics that we're traditionally finding in war games. So if you look on a model card, you actually see it tells you the number and color of the custom dice that the model will actually roll in close combat. And then when you're actually to perform combat, you come over and you grab the colored dice appropriate to the model and you simply roll them, looking for symbols. We have swords, shields, and skulls. Skulls are critical hits, swords are not critical hits, and shields go toward a defense called resolve. It's really straightforward. On top of that, each faction in Chronicles plays different. So if you're looking at the table right now, you'll actually see that we have our Great Forest tribes squaring off against our Kingdom of our clan. And part of that is that each faction has a faction card, single-sided, which simply lists some special rules for the faction. So in Chronicles, you're not going to have a large army book or other type of supplemental material you would need to play your faction. So real quick, I'm going to walk through how Chronicles actually plays. It is a movement-based tactics game. So what you're focused on in Chronicles is always trying to outmaneuver your opponent for advantage. So to get started, to move an army, if I was to move the Great Forest Tribes, I simply look at the model card and see how far it can move, and then grab either a movement template, a tape measure, whatever you would use, and simply measure and move each model independently. And you can go through your whole army. You can see it doesn't take very long to move. But what I'm actually focused on while I'm doing this is kind of trying to split the force of our clan for a later turn. I'm just going to leave those guys there for now, sort of in reserve. Once I'm done moving in Chronicles, it'll be the our clan player's turn to move. So in Chronicles, we alternate by phase. We don't alternate by entire game turn. So the our clan player would go to move, and I could go ahead and measure for them if I wanted. Let's say his Lord Commander wants to charge up. Maybe the cavalry's going to come help. Maybe these guys will slide over to the side. The paladin can come with him. And so on. Once movement's done in Chronicles, we go to the next phase of the game, which is the special phase. It's here that models will cast magic. So we have different types of magic in Chronicles. Our bear shamans and our forest tribes use wild magic. What wild magic means is they have to have a certain proximity to terrain to even use it, and they have to roll a dice anytime they cast. And on a 1 in 10 chance, a double skull, it might go real bad for them. In this case, it didn't. I could replace her with a werebear model if I so chose. She transforms into a werebear. Great. Our clan could also respond with its paladin. She's sitting right over here. She can cast spells too. She actually has a spell called Holy Rampage, which would allow her to increase her strength. So in order to do that, I would just simply look at the back of her card, see the spell, it tells me to roll a die. And as long as she doesn't get a skull, she's fine, but she did, so she'll actually take a wound, and I'll just leave it right there to mark that she has a wound. Perfect. That's it for special. Moving right along from there, we'd actually go into shooting. So in Chronicles, to shoot, When we shoot in Chronicles, it's more mirroring like how you imagine models, how they would shoot if they were in a movie. So they fill the sky full of arrows. It's not just one guy shooting at a particular target. To do that, we create a dynamic unit. So let's say I had these two models over here. They wanted to shoot, and maybe they want to shoot this model right here. So in order to do that, I would simply look at their card, see that their range is 6 inches, find a measuring plate, look and check to make sure they are in range. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And they form together to form a unit to shoot at the same time. So literally, because they're in 2 inches, I would pick up 2 dice and roll them, looking for swords. I get 1, so now he's going to take some damage. In this particular case, though, that's a wild guard. He happens to have the shielded rule, so he gets to roll a blue die in response to see if he blocks it. He doesn't, but it doesn't matter anyway because he has 1 armor. He's going to absorb the hit. Just walking through the process, right? Shooting is really straightforward. You're also, when you're aiming with shooting, depending on how many models you're shooting with, you're not aiming for a single guy. You're aiming for an area of the board and all the guys in it. Again, guys firing a hail of arrows coming through the sky. They don't just aiming for one person. It would be a unlucky sap if he was that one guy. Instead, we're talking about everybody in that area where the arrows land. Let's move on. In Chronicles, the next thing that you do is called Charge Run, which is purely a second movement phase. Now, I obviously get asked, why do you have 2 movement phases? The answer is because Chronicles is all about movement-based tactics. This is not a game where you're rolling a lot of dice. It's not about luck. It's all about trying to engineer combats and outmaneuver your opponent. So in order to do that, you need phases where you can respond to how your opponent previously moved. So again, I can go back to moving models just like we did before. Maybe he's going to cut over here to fight. Sorry, knocked him over. This guy's too far out of range. I don't even care anymore about him. Let's just move over here. Maybe I split the combat. My bear charges in. And so on. When I'm done, the Arcland player is going to take his shot at it. And I'm just going to move him up a little bit. Let's say the horses come in for reinforcements. Maybe he charges all the way over here. And so on. Really straightforward. Once you're done with Charge Run, we actually go to the attack phase, the last phase of the turn. From there, we're going to actually determine where our melee combats are. So in Chronicles, we have a really unique principle called a dynamic unit formation, which allows us to combine models that were otherwise moving sort of as that skirmish type into one unit. So the way that works is I look at the table and I go, are 2 models in base-to-base combat? Yes. Models within 2 inches of them will join that combat. If there's more than 1 combat that overlaps, it all becomes one big combat, just like that. So I can look at this. I don't need to get out a tape measure. I can literally look at this and say it's all one big combat. But if you wanted to, you could get out your tape measure and check my math. So to do combat, I'll just walk through one real quick. I don't want to go through both of them, but let's just walk through one. In Chronicles, it's real simple. You take a look at the die that you need by looking at the card. So I can see like I have a few tribe warriors here, and their card tells me to roll 1 yellow die per tribe warrior. I got 3 of them. That's 3 dice. I got a tribe wild guard. I know he's an orange and a white. Oh, there's another warrior, another yellow, and another tribe wild guard, an orange and a white. That's what the tribe's going to roll.
And now this is all for your team.
My team, just the tribes, right? Meanwhile, fighting happens all at the same time, okay? So Arcland's doing the same thing. He looks and sees he has a scout cavalry. That's 2 yellow there. He's got 2 warriors of the realm, so that's a couple more yellow for each one of them. He's got a sergeant hiding in there. That's an orange and a white. Paladin's going to be 2 orange and a white. And then lastly is that last warrior of the realm right there on the end, 2 more yellows. So this is Arcland's pile, right? We'll pick them up. We'll roll them. And I'm just looking for symbols, and what I'll do is I'll just separate the symbols into easy-to-see little piles and get rid of the blanks. So that's all. Tribe's result. Arcland goes to roll. Shield, 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 shield. Woo, Arcland's tearing it up. It's going to be bad news for the tribes. Real bad. So here's what happens. In Chronicles, you start with your shield. So I look at my shields and I go, hey, I rolled 2 shields. The tribe player is then going to look at his faction card, this little handy thing down here called the resolve meter. Because he's rolled 2 shields, he's allowed to either pick the 2 or the 1, or nothing. If I had rolled, say, 6, I could pick the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, and so forth. In this particular instance, if the tribe player was smart, I'm not going to make you go through with this, but if I look at number 2 says, hey, your opponent must now re-roll all the dice as if they never rolled, and then further rolls, they roll accumulate with the number of shields they got. So I would look at Arcland and be like, wow, that was an amazingly good roll, and I'd force them to re-roll. That's what I would do, to try to get that down. But I'm not going to go through all that. Let's just say the tribe's player picks the 0, which we call a swap down. which means those 2 shields translate into 2 blue dice rolls, and I get to ignore some wounds for every shield I did. So I just ignore that from the Arcland player, all done. Arcland does the same thing. He rolled 4 shields, so he'd go over here and look at their chart. He has a really cool rule called I'll handle this at number 4, which means that the Lord Commander, who's busy over here, can actually temporarily run over here and smack some guys and then run back. It's pretty fun. So we'll go ahead and he's going to pick that. I'll handle this. So the Lord Commander comes bounding over and chucks his dice into the combat, gets another 2 swords and another 2 shields, which is going to ignore a couple wounds on the tribe side. See how all that works? We go to wound allocation last. Tribes end up, they've only done 1 skull. This is a terrible disaster for the tribes. The Arcland player has to assign it. He picks whoever he wants. Skulls, critical hits, they ignore that armor, so Arcland loses a model. And in fact, I'll get out the Arcland card over here so you can see what I'm talking about. That's the Warrior of the Realm. Hit points and armor. So ignore the armor, killed the Warrior of the Realm. Tribes is about to get massacred. They've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. I have to allocate out. So again, the tribes will look at his card. I see I have some tribe warriors. They only have 1 wound each. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm down to tribe wild guard. They actually have 1 armor and 1 wound. So you have to defeat the armor first. 5, 6, 7, 8. They're all dead. Just like that. That's why the tribes player would have made him re-roll. So it's already there for you. And that's it. That's a whole combat. So if I'd have had anybody left, tribes would have actually lost that combat. I would have then rolled morale to see if we would have broken it. That's what would have happened. As it stands, though, we got another cool rule in Chronicles which says if you completely slaughter your opponent, which I did, they actually get to take what's called a charge-through action, which means he could actually charge over here and join that combat to bolster it. So you got to be careful in Chronicles about leaving your flanks open. Because if somebody comes in and hits your flank and blows up the whole flank, they can charge right through the flank into the middle of the combat to do more damage. So you've got to be real careful.
So we just saw 1 full turn of Chronicles. Seems like it's a very simple game compared to some of these other strategy games.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know we were talking earlier where I've seen some of these strategy games, the instruction books is the size of the Bible. You said this is 30-some pages?
36 pages, and that includes the table of contents and the copyright page.
You're not going to find a strategy game
right.
that simple and that easy. I mean, these symbols on these cards are beautiful. Clearly, the heart means health.
Yeah.
Shield means defense.
Easy, easy.
They've taken very complicated ideals and broke them down to where anyone can understand it. So where I could see definitely a child playing this, like a teenager, a small teenager.
A teenager, absolutely.
A 10, 12, 13-year-old
absolutely. We've taken all the math, all the tables, the chart looks up, the complexity of a game, and we got rid of it. That's what the whole, it's all baked into these dice. So these dice, they provide different statistical odds. So the math is still there. It's just obfuscated into these dice.
Nice.
That's how it all works.
Nice. Now, so right now we're going to be on Kickstarter, August 30th.
August 30th.
Do we have a website, anything of that
Absolutely.
nature? Email,
www.chroniclesthegame.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whole 9 yards.
All right. And I'll, like I've already said previously, I'll post a link to this at the bottom of the YouTube page. And do we know how much it's going to cost?
Absolutely. So when we go to Kickstarter for pledge levels, for a single faction, all the dice, rule books, cards, everything you would need to play, $79. Okay? If you want 2 factions in a box, $119. So the 2 faction is a steal. Okay? Past that, as we unlock stretch goals, of course, we'll be unlocking more factions, right? And more models. If we unlock more factions, when you pledge, you'll be able to choose the factions you want. So it's not just whatever's in the box, okay? Past that, a la carte, any model we have unlocked in the starter box, $2.
Nice.
So if you want to expand the size of your army, now is the time in the Kickstarter.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, not only is this game simple, I believe that's probably the cheapest I've heard out of all 4 days.
If it's not the cheapest, I will be sad.
Amazing, amazing. So, Well, Neil, I definitely appreciate your time today. Thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you.